Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another day of SGI Talks, live at the Saudi Pavilion here at Dubai's Expo City at COP28. My name is Rawan Radwan, and I will be your host for this afternoon. With us today is Dr. Hussein Hadlet and Dr. Mohammed Muafa. We'll be diving right into the pivotal role of energy efficiency in the transformation towards more sustainable and environmentally friendly practices. Gentlemen, please.
Thank you.
Let's dive right in. Energy efficiency has been something that's very much important and a strategy that not only SGI has been adopting or emphasizing the importance of, but it also falls in line with a lot of the Kingdom's strategies with regard to energy efficiency, diversification, and whatnot. I would like to ask, how does emphasizing and the energy efficiency become a crucial strategy in terms of environmental protection and sustainable methods?
Should I start?
Go ahead.
All right. So thank you, Rawan, first for this kind of invitation. And let me first actually say that many industries, especially actually the energy industry and the sector, has been actually functioning and operating within a linear carbon economy, right? Meaning that, let's say, oil and gas get produced from the underground, get burned on the industrial facilities, and then the resulting gas get emitted to the atmosphere, right? And of course, this model and this approach is clearly unsustainable and will not fit actually for the future. And for that, the Kingdom has announced in 2019 the circular carbon economy. I think now it's already well known to everybody. And with this framework, it is based on what we call the 4 pillars or 4 R's. And one of these R is the reduce, right, for it. And this where actually energy efficiency actually fits very well to the reduce aspect of it for it, because when it gets to the to the effect of energy and the aspects of energy, one of the key, if you like, low-hanging fruit actually to improve is to reduce efficiency, and with improving efficiency, and with improving efficiency, you get aspects of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, you preserve resources. And there's many other aspects related to that that maybe we can talk more about it in more
Definitely.
details.
Dr. Mohammed, Tershid's main core or the main message in Tershid is sustainability and infrastructures. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that with regard to the strategies and environmentally friendly practices?
Yes, thank you. First, thank you for having me, and thanks for the audience for this great attendance. Tershid has been established back in 2017. The main goal was to put focus on the facilities and buildings, especially as a start, governmental buildings. You know, buildings contributes to more than 30% of global consumption. That's why focusing on these buildings that also support the oil and gas industries that where employees are in, facilities that where our pumping stations are in, it's very important to put focus on these facilities and these aspects, so that we also contribute to the wider goal of reducing carbon emissions. So Tershid has been doing this for the past actually 6 years. We have covered, basically addressed more than 22,000 buildings in the kingdom, across the kingdom in all the areas. We have actually replaced, and this is also one of the main also contributors, we have replaced almost 4.2 million street lights across the kingdom. In every street in the kingdom, we have been there, we have replaced the lights. We only have a few left in order to complete the whole campaign of replacing all street lights in the kingdom. By the way, if we complete this campaign, we will be the first G20 country that completed the replacement of all conventional street lights, old inefficient street lights, to a very new, very efficient LED lights. And that's a great, actually, achievement. In addition to that, we have also contributing to reducing improving the efficiency of these facilities. We have replaced also indoor lights, more than 14 million indoor lights. In addition to that, we have also adopted new technologies. That's very important, because if you focus on reducing energy consumption, that contributes to the wider, actually, target, which is reducing carbon emissions and so on.
And that also reduces the prevalence of light pollution that is affecting major cities across not only Saudi Arabia, but also across the world. Do you think we could also include this bit with regard to the example that you just mentioned, to the island heating phenomena?
Yes, that's very
heat
awesome.
island, excuse me, heat island
yes.
Phenomena, yes.
Well, yeah, heat island is like increasing the temperature inside the cities because of the streets, because of the cars, and also because of the buildings that contributes to increasing the heat temperature degrees inside the city. So,
and can something as simple as changing a light bulb make an effect?
Exactly, yes. Changing a light bulb, or improving the what we call it HVAC, heat and ventilation, or AC air conditioning systems, to make it a better, more efficient, and also smarter.
Dr. Hassan, with the strategies that are already in place in the oil and energy sector, improving these strategies are necessary because we're moving at a very, very, very fast pace, and we're also adopting technologies to accommodate and complement each other. Where are we now? How are we doing so far?
Sure. Of course, this is very important question, right? And the oil and gas industry, I think it's already known for everybody that is actually a major contributor, right, for greenhouse gas emissions And one of the aspects related to this, emissions is related to production, right? When you actually produce a barrel of oil, that barrel of oil actually is, it is related to also emissions, meaning that to produce every barrel of oil, you need to put energy, right, to get this oil out of the reservoir. And this is one area where the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia actually is doing really well in this aspect, where the efficiency actually is, compared to the other companies and other oil producers around the world, it is one of the best in terms of the lowest, what we call the carbon index, meaning that in the kingdom, in average, you need to emit about 10 kilograms, 10 to 11 kilograms in the upstream side of carbon dioxide to produce 1 barrel of oil. And compared to other places, it could be maybe 10 times lower than many other places around the world. Now, the secret actually behind this is that one aspect of the production is what we call flaring, meaning that in so many places around the world, when you produce oil, you have the solution gas, hydrocarbon gas that gets out of the oil, and many places they may not capture that gas, and it end up to be burned on the facility, and this is what we call flaring. And with that, this is responsible of increasing the carbon intensity and end up actually by having high, if you like, environmental footprint out of this. And other also issues related to that is the methane leakage. In many places also we may not pay attention to the leakage aspects, the pipelines, the tanks, the facilities, and so on. So I would actually again emphasize on that this part in terms of paying attention to the environment, paying attention to the leakage aspects, and reducing the flaring. This is something that the kingdom has been actually practicing for a while. Now, this is, of course, moving forward, this may not be enough, right? We still need to do more actually on this aspect, and this is where the integration of the new technologies, for example, like sensors, for example, yes, right, in terms of detecting the leakage, for example, from the facilities, also including the remote sensing in terms of understanding if there is any leakage happening in a facility or a pipeline, and taking actions related to that. So there is definitely a lot of things actually ongoing on these aspects, and this has been also emphasized on the commitment actually from the kingdom from one side to achieve the net zero by 2060, and also from the energy sector, like specifically Saudi Aramco actually to achieve net zero by 2050. So of course this is very ambitious targets to achieve, and there is clear commitment actually to get there.
When did we stop flaring? You mentioned we've been doing this for quite some time, but how far back did we stop?
So I think the decision was taken maybe around the 70s in the kingdom, wow, right, to capture all the gas, right, the flare, and completely stop flaring actually from all the oil fields actually in the kingdom. Now, of course, you find in many places around the world that this is, in my opinion, actually, this is actually something that maybe I would call it the dark side of the oil and gas industry, that, this should be stopped. One is flaring should be stopped, and the second is the methane leakage, because these are really major contributor for the greenhouse gases, and of course, with the commitment, technically speaking, you need to capture that gas. You need to find, put the, the aspects of pipelines, for example, or the storage to be actually used, right, rather than just flaring it to the atmosphere.
Could you give us other examples of also different practices that we've adopted in the sector?
So other practices that actually could contribute to reduce also the environmental footprint is to have careful reservoir management, for example, introducing technologies like machine learning, AI aspects, introducing, for example, simulations using computer aspects to optimize the operations, and also reducing what we call the water cut in many places around the world, including Saudi Arabia. Actually, we use the seawater to produce the oil, meaning that you need actually that to drill a well, for example, underground, you inject the water from one side to produce the oil from the other side. And in many, as a result of that, you're going to end actually producing a lot of water out, and this is what we call the water cut there. So you need to, one area actually to improve the efficiency is to reduce this water, right? Because there is also energy related to treating this water out. When you get it out from one side, you need to clean it to be able to inject it again. So there is some aspects related to that. And also you need to make sure that you not introduce any contamination for the water, for example, whether the underground water or the seawater from this aspect. So there is very careful regulations, very careful reservoir management, actually, and environmental protection, actually, that take care of the aspects related to that and trying to minimize the water usage in this case, for it.
Speaking of regulations, let's talk infrastructure. And this is where Tarshid and you, Dr. Muhammad, can provide a lot of info on.
Yes.
We can't remove what we already have. We can't, it's not an out with the old and in with the new in terms of infrastructure, in terms of buildings and facilities and whatnot. So we have to take what we have and transform it into something doable, usable, feasible. The strategies that you have in place and the broader goals, of course, of the environmentally friendly practices and reducing carbon emissions and whatnot, we have to use what we already have. Let's talk about the strategies that you've been implementing in transforming the facilities and buildings.
Yes, definitely. Existing building is existing building. So the best practice is to upgrade this existing building or existing facilities into a more efficient, more sustainable buildings. And that's the goal, because otherwise it will not be feasible or economically viable. So smart technologies and also advanced technology nowadays help you with that, especially if you have a facility where you have a lot of pumping stations, for example. You can install VFDs, you can install variable frequency drives and other technologies, smart sensors, as you mentioned. Not only that, but also the building itself that hosts the employees. It's very important also to upgrade this building, make it more friendly to the users so that they can think more innovative and creative. It's very important also to upgrade these buildings facilities, because you have also other equipment that cool down these facilities, which consumes also a lot of energy, and that also contributes to the wider energy per barrel also calculation. So it's very important also to look at every pieces throughout the whole spectrum and look at what and also analyze what can be done in these buildings. Tarshid efforts have been actually we have been addressing all these issues and facilities throughout since inception. Now we have addressed more than actually more than 22,000, as I mentioned, more than 22,000 buildings. We have addressed also more than so many actually AC units and HVAC units that contributes all that cool down or heat up the facilities. We have achieved so far, by doing all these things, we have achieved so far around 6.8 or 6.2 terawatt hour of energy saving. That's a lot of energy saving. That's 6.8 million or billion kilowatt hour. This energy is enough to power almost 250,000 housing units for a year. This energy is enough to power a country like Luxembourg or Latvia for a year. So this number can also help achieve the wider goal of the kingdom, which is reducing carbon emission. Also the green, Saudi Green initiatives contributes to that. Actually, this energy, when you do the calculation, it is equivalent to planting almost over 60 million trees, right? And also contributing to almost capturing 4 million metric ton of CO2 emission. So focusing on that, on the energy consumption and reducing energy consumption have a lot of, as you say, cascaded effect on not only the environment aspect, but also on the generation facilities, on the On the also users of these facilities, they feel more comfortable, and you improve the workplace as well.
But clearly there were challenges. Definitely there are challenges.
Yes,
and
definitely.
what were the most crucial challenges that you faced? And from that, what opportunities did you have?
Of course. Always economics is the big challenge. You have solutions that are less expensive and lesser payback, and you have technologies and solutions that are very expensive and higher payback. The good strategy is to combine both solutions. So you come up with a kind of average payback that can, you will be able to also adopt the higher payback technologies and lower payback technologies in one project. Another challenge is the user themselves. If you adopt or install very smart technologies, guess what? It is as smart as the user who is using this. So the user themselves, first they have to be convinced of this technology that can help them run the facilities much better. And also, they are convinced that these technologies are as smarter as the user themselves, or that can make their life also easier.
Could it be as easy as the infrastructure sector, as
Sure,
in the oil and energy
like
sector?
following up to what Mohammed mentioned, about how to, and also back to your question about how could you use your existing infrastructure to, from one side, actually improving efficiency and also paying more attention to the environmental aspects for it. So one area is on the oil sector, basically on the, for example, production, exploration, and all aspects. As Mohammed mentioned, we use a lot of pumps, for example, and other.
Yes.
Mostly these are diesel-based generators, for example, or other hydrocarbon liquid-based generators. So one area that actually the industry is working on is to electrify actually these facilities, like switching these engines, for example, from liquid-based engine, hydrocarbon-based engine to maybe electricity. And in this case, we have opportunity to use renewables like solar, for example, or wind energy for this aspect. So this is one area, of course, to reduce also the environmental footprint. Other areas also that we are at CAUS, for example, looking at is to introduce the geothermal energy as well, for it. So this is a load-based energy source that could actually be complementary to the other renewables, from solar and wind and so on. But back to the challenges, of course, one aspect is like what Mohammed mentioned is related to the cost, So
Yes.
these are sort of emerging technologies. There is some high capex that need to be actually invested in these technologies, and then the other things could be actually related to maybe in some aspect like the risk that could be actually need to be somehow adopted related to this technology, especially actually when we're moving from something that you already been experiencing, you're familiar with for decades, and now you want to switch to something else. So there's always this, aspects of risk that need to be taken on it. Even though actually I think the opportunities are definitely already there, So we understand that there is the benefit from improving efficiency, from preserving resources, from actually even reducing the cost, and on all these aspects, which actually helps in some point to whether I think we all agree that in terms of the oil and gas that this is right now this is the energy of today, and then in some way we need to have a plan for transitioning, to the low carbon economy and so on. But actually, to get to that point, we still need to do our best to improve that efficiency and reduce the environmental footprint of these technologies. So,
in order to do that, we have a great caliber of young, people, employees in both sectors and in general across the board. But we need to train, we need to focus on knowledge and adopting the best practices. It's not necessary that international practices can be applied here and adopted and applied here effectively.
Absolutely.
But no one knows our backyard more so than the people living and working in Saudi Arabia. Knowledge, localized knowledge is imperative, and technology is very much driving the force of change. how do you see, or how do you perceive in technology fostered here in Saudi Arabia, like homegrown technology, homegrown advancements, whether it's AI related, whether it's through something as simple as robotics? It's not simple, but you know what I mean. Is it, how easy is it? How important is it? How crucial is it?
Sure. Maybe I can start giving you some examples, right, related to it, right? So, of course, the kingdom, as I already mentioned, they have basically announced the Vision 2030, for example, and the ambition actually to get to net zero. And one of the areas that we're working on it is how to, you know, capture, for example, direct carbon dioxide from the air or also from industrial facilities and sequester it in some form, right? So one area that we're working on at KAUS is to get that, you know, capture that carbon dioxide, whether from air, and then put it in the context of reactive formations like basalts, for example, volcanic rock. And with this actually mechanism, you can convert carbon dioxide into rock. So in a bit technical aspect, you have the carbon dioxide. When it reacts with cations like magnesium and calcium, it forms calcites, and this is a nature-based solution that we're trying to replicate Mother Nature from this aspect for it. So these are technologies that are really specific for example, the places where you already have these resources in place, like you know, along the western side of the Saudi Arabia, for example, along the Red Sea, including Jeddah, for example, and northern side. You have the harrats, for example. Yes. This actually the resources, and
the
this
volcanic
is
craters.
Volcanic rocks, right, for it. And this is, for example, one area we're looking at it. And then the other example I mentioned about geothermal, for example. There is definitely potential for geothermal, what we call the low enthalpy geothermal, and there is a plan right now to drill a geothermal well at KAUS campus, for example. And with this one, you can actually have the potential to use this technology, you know, renewable technologies to help to reduce the cost for desalination, you know. And we know desalination, for example,
it's a costly,
very very costly technology, you know, in terms of energy and so on.
But we're also using something as simple as mangrove forests, whether it's in south of Saudi, in Farasan Islands, KAUS. You also have something. Also, I think you have a mangrove farm, if I'm not mistaken. That's right. In the eastern province. Also, Aramco has adopted this approach quite a while ago. Growing mangrove forests, and I think it's in the millions, if I'm not mistaken. But can this also be applied to Tershid and transforming the buildings, the facilities, the structures that are already there? And we have some quite old buildings. They're historic, if I can say so, and very... let's say, I would say something of more of a symbol, very symbolic to whether it's in Jeddah or Riyadh or the Eastern Province and other major cities, for example. Yes. Is it as easy to transform that but use homegrown-based technology?
Well, yes, existing facilities can be upgraded, definitely, but some facilities can be upgraded to some extent, and some others you can upgrade so much in that. It depends on what type of technologies, what is the scope of work, and what we are actually the aim of this upgrade. If it is using advanced technologies in order to improve the efficiency of this building, or in order to make the building smarter, or in order to make the occupants feel more comfortable. It depends on what we are looking at and what is the scope of work. But technologies are there, smart technologies also there and available. And some of them are actually locally developed, especially the smart sensors and smart also lamps. So, we have been using this for quite a while now.
Looking ahead, what does the blueprint to reduce emissions look like in any sector?
So one way I see it actually in terms of for example, advancing and putting the right policy in place, for example, right, to promote, you know, the companies, or even actually from the private and, you know, industry sectors actually to from one side, actually, for example, they take credit, right, for all the measures they take to reduce emissions. And one thing that, you know, for example, in the kingdom, the Ministry of Energy with the DNA, they announced the GCOM, the greenhouse gas credit and offsetting mechanism, right, for it, which is essentially provide the framework and the policy in place for companies to, you know, to claim credit, for example, for all the measures and actions they take to reduce emissions for it. So this is definitely one area that actually encourage the public sector to reduce emissions from it. So, yeah.
Does the same apply to?
Yes. So in the kingdom, to give you more perspective, in the kingdom, the electricity consumption comes mainly 50% of electricity consumption from the houses. Okay, so that's one very good area that we regulation can be adopted. The other one is like from the industries, 20%, and then from the commercial, the other part. So it's very important to also put the right regulation in place so that can encourage all these buildings users to put more, to focus or to put more investments on the making their buildings more energy efficient, and that will definitely contribute to the overall reductions, carbon emission reduction, and also the Saudi Green initiatives.
Clearly, everything that you said complements one another. And I think, and I believe this goes across the board. Every sector, every ministry, every entity can complete the work of the next and the next. So it's a collaborative effort. In your respective fields, what were the most noteworthy collaborations that you can mention to us today? Whether it's from the government, private sector, or research and development.
I think, you know, I totally agree with you. You know, the size of this challenge, right, is beyond the capability of one single company or single entity or even single nation, right? This requires, and this is why we're here, right, in COP28, right? Because this definitely requires collaborations. It's very sincere collaboration, actually, between all the different parties, different companies, countries working together. To develop the right policy, the right technologies, you know, to advance, actually, to address this challenge, you know, for it. So even at the nation level, for example, when the country, for example, announced the net zero by a given date, eventually it is the responsibility of everybody there, right, from the companies who are able actually to contribute, right, to achieve this milestone. From any aspects, you know, like Tarshid, for example, Mohammed was talking about improving the buildings, you know, efficiency and so on, yes, to the energy sector, to the transportation sector. So everybody, to the individual sector as well, right? As we, you know, citizens in a country, we need to also do our duty to address this challenge, you know, for it. So,
Dr. Mohammed, any final thoughts?
I think at least in the government facilities and building, what have been done is significant and remarkable. Especially the numbers that I just mentioned tell us that a lot of work have been done, a lot of regulations, and then the right regulatory framework, the right procedures have been put in place so that Tarshid can achieve all these numbers. And still, Tarshid is also doing very well, and then will be doing very well in the coming years to achieve more and more. I think it was a great achievement for everybody who worked in the establishment of this sector. The other part, the commercial, I think the residential, I think there will be the next step for that.
Inshallah, well, let's hope so. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We will. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
you.